Alright, I've been using the DJI Action 5 Pro for about 10 days now, testing it almost every day to see how it performs, and today I want to share my final thoughts on it to help you decide whether it's worth getting or not. Also, this video is sponsored by Artlist, but more on that later in the video. So let's start with the design. This camera has pretty much the same design as the DJI Action 4, but with a few minor differences. So first of all, if you use a vlog case, like this Ulanzi vlog cage for the DJI Action 4 and 5 Pro, the 5 Pro fits slightly tighter inside, as you can see. It's a bit harder to put inside. It still fits perfectly fine, but it's slightly harder to do so with the Action 5 Pro than the Action 4. Next, I find the buttons on the Action 5 Pro to be a bit stiffer than on the Action 4, so it's basically a bit harder to press the record and power buttons on the Action 5 Pro than on the Action 4. But if you worried about having the camera in your pocket and pressing these buttons by accident, it will probably never happen with the Action 5 Pro. Next, we have to talk about the new battery on the Action 5 Pro. DJI has included this new battery with the same size as on the Action 4, but with higher capacity of 1950 mAh compared to 1770 mAh on the Action 4. And from my tests, this new battery delivers fantastic battery life on the Action 5 Pro. I've compared it to the Action 4 and I got roughly 70-80 minutes longer recording times with this camera compared to the Action 4. So for someone like me who's only using one battery with their Action camera, this is a fantastic upgrade. However, if you have the Action 4, you can just pick up this battery because it also works on the Action 4 and experience the better battery life. Next thing that I like about the Action 5 Pro are the new OLED displays. On the Action 4 we had LCD displays, and now we have an OLED display on the back and also OLED display in the front. These displays deliver better blacks, basically deeper blacks, and also better colors. But most importantly, at least for me, the rear display has been increased in size from 2.5 inches on the Action 4 to 2.5 inches, which makes it much easier for me to expose, compose, and frame my shots. Next thing that I like about the Action 5 Pro is how quickly it turns on. So I can press the power button here, as you can see, immediately it turns on. It's a bit quicker than the Action 4, but it's mostly noticeable when you're using the quick capture mode by pressing the record button. As you can see, it right away starts recording, and if I'm gonna press it again, it's basically gonna do a countdown and then completely turn off the camera, which can be very handy if you have the camera in your pocket and then you're walking around and you want to quickly pull it out and right away start recording. This is going to be definitely super helpful. Now, another thing that I have to talk about is the new internal storage of 47 gigabytes. Honestly, this is not such a big feature, but it's nice to have as a backup in case if you forget to bring an SD card to shoot your videos. And what I mostly like about this feature is that when you connect it to your laptop, the transfer speeds are super fast. If you're using a USB 3.0 compatible cable, I think it's actually slightly faster transfer speeds than my SanDisk Extreme Pro micro SD card, which is kind of impressive. And if the internal storage had 128 gigabytes, honestly, I would not use SD cards anymore because it's so much easier for me to transfer the files this way and faster at the same time. Next thing I want to talk about is the audio. I find the audio quality of the internal microphones on the Action 5 Pro to be slightly better than the Action 4. The difference honestly is negligible, but I find these microphones on this camera to be slightly more clear than on the Action 4. And I also compared it to the Pocket 3. This is an audio quality comparison between the DJI Action 5 Pro, DJI Pocket 3, and the DJI Action 4. Here's a sound sample from the DJI Action 5 Pro without doing any enhancements in post-production except for adjusting the audio gain if necessary. Now here is how the Pocket 3 sounds like, again without any enhancements in post-production except for audio gain adjustments. And finally, this is how the DJI Action 4 sounds like. From these three, I think the DJI Action 5 Pro sounds the best, but you let me know down below which one you think sounds the best. Now, before I move on, let me tell you about today's video sponsor, Artlist. If you are a content creator, filmmaker, or YouTuber like me, you know the importance of using high-quality assets to elevate your videos. Artlist offers royalty-free music, sound effects, and a huge collection of high-quality stock footage and video templates that can transform your edits, whether you are working on YouTube videos, social media content, or even professional client projects. These assets are designed to help you create professional looking and sounding videos without spending hours on them. However, Artlist is much more than just that. Recently, they have also expanded their library to include AI voiceovers, which are perfect if you need professional sounding narration using your text with just a click of a button. You can choose different voices and styles, making it easy to customize your content. I've been using Artlist for the last couple of months and I've been more than happy with their services. Their subscription plans are flexible, offering something for everyone with various pricing options to fit your budget. And with one subscription, you get unlimited downloads, no copyright issues, and full coverage for all your platforms, including YouTube, TikTok, client work, you name it. If you are ready to step up your video production, check out the link in my description to get 2 extra months free with any Artlist annual subscription plan. Thank you, Artlist, for sponsoring this video, and thank you for watching. Let's continue. All right, now let's talk about stabilization. Honestly, I can't really see a significant difference in terms of stabilization between the Action 5 Pro and the Action 4. They look more or less the same to me. However, what I could notice right away when shooting with this camera in low light is that the stabilization performs much better when shooting in slow shutter speeds. I did a comparison with the Pocket 3 and I used a shutter of 1/50 in low light conditions, and honestly I was impressed by how good the stabilization looked on this camera. Yes, you could still see the jitters from the stabilization because when you use slow shutter speeds with an action camera, the stabilization is not going to perform the best, but it was the best by far stabilization that I've seen from an action camera in low light when shooting with slow shutter speeds. I think if you're going to use a shutter speed of 4 times the frame rate you're shooting, you're gonna get fantastic stabilization performance in low light with this camera, and it's much better in my opinion than on the DJI Action 4. Now, another cool feature this camera has is tracking. I was thinking it could only track you in vertical mode, but I was wrong. One of you guys told me that it can also do landscape tracking, and you were right, but it can only do it up to 2.7K, and also you cannot use D-Log M, which for me is a big bummer, but it works really well if you are staying within the field of view of the camera, because obviously the camera cannot move left and right for tracking you. It can only basically crop into the image and, you know, do like a digital zoom and pan, tilt, basically move around the frame and track you, but it works really well, really reliable from my personal experience. However, if you need a camera for tracking, the Pocket 3 is a much better option. This is probably my most used feature on the Pocket 3, so if you need tracking, the Pocket 3 is the camera to get. All right, let's move on to optics and image quality. First of all, the field of view on the Action 5 Pro is exactly the same as on the Action 4. The sensor size is also exactly the same, but now it has a 40 megapixel sensor versus 10 megapixels on the Action 4, which should deliver better photo results and also a more detailed image when shooting video. However, DJI has decided to lower the bitrate on the Action 5 Pro compared to the Action 4. I think this one shoots in 60 mbits in standard 4K 24, 25, 30p, versus the Action 4 shoots in 100 or 120 mbits. This has been a huge drama on YouTube and online forums. Many people have been complaining about the lower bitrate on the Action 5 Pro, including myself, because when I first got this camera and I started shooting with it, I got such soft and unpleasing image compared to the Action 4. And I was thinking it's due to the lower bitrate, and maybe it still is. However, when I decided to play around with the texture and noise reduction settings and I completely disabled the texture, basically set it to -2, and also the noise reduction to -2, I got a much better looking image out of the Action 5 Pro. And in fact, it looked much better, at least to me, than the Action 4 in low light, in daylight, in all conditions basically. Now, I'm not saying that the lower bitrate is a good thing, because personally I would prefer to shoot in a higher bitrate. I think think DJI is going to release a new firmware soon with the update of having the option to choose a higher bitrate, so that's going to be solved soon. And honestly, even when shooting at a lower bitrate, I much prefer the image quality from the Action 5 Pro than the Action 4, especially in low light conditions. This camera has really surprised me with its ISO performance. Even when shooting at ISO 6400 or 12800, the Action 5 Pro looks phenomenal. Actually, it looks almost as good as the Pocket 3, which has a bigger sensor and also a lower count megapixel sensor compared to the Action 5 Pro. I don't know exactly what DJI is doing with the processor here, but the low light performance on the Action 5 Pro is much better than the Action 4. Now, in terms of dynamic range, I compared it to the DJI Pocket 3 and the Action 4, and I couldn't really notice a significant difference in terms of dynamic range when manually exposing the shots. However, when using auto exposure, the Action 5 Pro delivers significantly better dynamic range. I'm not sure if just the algorithm works better on the Action 5 Pro or the dynamic range is significantly better, but it's definitely noticeable in contrasty scenes. So if you are shooting with a light behind you, basically backlighting yourself, you're definitely gonna see more information in the shadows with the Action 5 Pro compared to the Action 4, but in manual settings, which is mostly what I use, I could not notice a significant dynamic range difference between this camera, the Pocket 3 or the Action 4. I think all of them deliver fantastic dynamic range. To summarize, the Action 5 Pro is a fantastic action camera. It has great battery life, solid build quality, and easy to use magnetic mounting system, internal backup storage, excellent image quality with fantastic low light performance, and most importantly, it's extremely reliable. This is one of the main reasons I decided not to get the new GoPro Hero 13. Not only the image quality basically remained the same as the GoPro Hero 12 and Hero 11, but I found GoPro cameras to be extremely unreliable, and this is one of my favorite features about DJI cameras in general. I have the Pocket 3, Action 5 Pro, and also the Action 4, and all of them are extremely reliable. Now, if you're coming from the Action 4, honestly, I would not upgrade to the Action 5 Pro unless you need one of the new features of the 5 Pro, like the better battery, but again, you can buy the battery and then use it on the Action 4. Or maybe you like the better screens or the better low light performance, kind of understandable, but honestly, I think the Action 4 still performs really well. And if you're deciding between the two cameras, I would choose the Action 4 if you can find a really good deal, but if they are the same price, I would much rather pick up the Action 5 Pro, because a lot of you have been asking me which camera I would buy, the Action 4, the Action 5 Pro, and all this stuff. Personally, I'm gonna keep the Action 5 Pro for the next year until the Action 6 Pro, I guess. I'm selling my Action 4 at the moment because after testing and comparing these two cameras, I much prefer the Action 5 Pro. However, if you have the Action 4, I would not jump right away and upgrade to the Action 5 Pro because the upgrades are not that significant as they were from the Action 3 to the Action 4. That was a significant upgrade because the Action 3 was an abysmal camera, in my personal opinion, at least when it comes to the image quality. Anyhow, guys, thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out Artlist down below, and I guess I'll see you again soon. Peace.